Hello friends, welcome to this orientation session of Step Up Mentorship Program 2025. With myself, I am Sajal Singh, the Program Director of this program, and with me we have the Program Coordinator Ridayan. So today we will be actually telling you some key aspects, some key elements which aspirants commit mistakes, which actually ensures that he or she doesn't get a top 50 rank. There are certain elements which is actually a must for every aspirant. And based on my experience of guiding over 400 plus rankers over last 8 years and at least 1500 or at least 15,000 rankers which have been guided by Vajiram as an institute, their whole kind of the whole kind of best practices or the whole repository of what exactly worked for them, what are the mistakes that they committed in their earlier attempts, all that knowledge we will be sharing with you कि exactly क्या वो गलतियां करते थे या क्या उन्होंने अच्छी चीज करी जिस वजह से उनकी रैंक आई पहले अटेम्प्ट में, दूसरे अटेम्प्ट में, थर्ड अटेम्प्ट में. So all these things we will be discussing in this program. We will also tell you how each and every aspect of this program actually functions on the ground. Right? Basically how it has benefited the aspirants, how it will benefit the aspirant. So before we start, let me introduce you, Ridayan. So Ridayan, if you want to speak something.
Hello viewers, I welcome you all to the orientation session for the Step Up Mentorship for the year 2025. And I hope that this session is going to be a really informative and an enriching experience for you all guys. So briefly, as Sajal sir also suggested, that we are going to discuss the nuts and bolts of Step Up Mentorship and what are the various ideas, the features and how it is being actually operationalized.
Thank you, Ridayan. So before we move, let us first discuss the areas that we will talk about today. One is what comprises wrong guidance. That is very, very important area that we will cover. Need of mentorship. What is Step Up Mentorship? How is it different from your foundation course? 4-layered mentorship and the role of a mentor. Personalized study plans, learning process, note making, answer writing, post-test assessment, current affairs, consistency, motivation, all aspects of preparation we will be discussing in today's live session. And also, whatever doubts, queries that you have, please comment and we will be definitely resolving once we are done with this session. So ultimately, we will take all your questions. So be free and please raise your question. Whatever doubts you have with respect to your preparation, with respect to your course, with respect to this course, you can actually, comment that doubt and we will definitely resolve it at the end of the session. So before we move further, Ridayan, what do you think is the biggest bane in civil service preparation?
It's a really good question and most of the students are accompanied with this bane itself. And in my opinion, Sajal sir, I feel that the biggest bane right now, which every student, whether be sitting in Delhi or preparing for their hometowns, is not the lack of guidance, but the misguidance, which is widely available and every student is surrounded by that thing. So this is the biggest bane which is facing the students right now.
And what are the sources do you think are responsible for this?
Yes, absolutely.
Wrong guidance?
Yeah, so absolutely. As we are living in an information age and we are absolutely surrounded by internet, so one of the biggest sources of wrong guidance or misguidance becomes the internet, because every person has become a self-proclaimed prophets of UPSC civil services preparation, which creates a very bad vicious ecosystem for the guidance which students are receiving. And the nature of such misguidance is that it is extremely generalized in nature. First of all, that it is a sort of a one-size-fits-all approach which is not individualized, and secondly, it is extremely disaggregated and obsolete and does not take care of the dynamics of how the civil services examination is changing along the time.
And definitely, I think more sources if I would like to add is that those ex-bureaucrats who gave this exam in 1980s or 1990s or even 2000s, Because if we see the nature of this exam, there was time when paragraph style answer writing was awarded in UPSC mains. From last 7-8 years, we are moving towards more what we call as bullet point, more crisp points covering multiple dimensions. So I would say even the ex-bureaucrats, those who gave the exam in 80s and 90s, for example, if you ask these, retired IAS, IPS, they will tell you that, devote a significant time or significant amount of your daily time on the Hindu. Because during that time, Hindu was the only source of current affairs. So definitely, that was the way to go. But now with we are living in the age of Chat GPT, Google Bard, the internet age. The things have changed significantly. And also there are certain peer groups. There are your elder bhaiyas, right? I mean, when I started preparation, there was one of my bhaiya who used to, who was preparing for last 8 or 9 years. He was what we call as the Baba in the UPSC terminology. And, he used to tell me all these things, ki bhai, don't focus on the aspects. Probably, read about those, important areas and, go deep in if you're reading history, go deep in Ashoka, know all about Ashoka. So I think these peer groups, these seniors, these babas, and also the YouTubers. I mean, we have a bunch of YouTubers these days. Somebody promising 150 marks in prelims, somebody, promising tricks and hacks, to become a prelims pro in like 2 sessions, 3 sessions. I mean, these are all source of wrong guidance, according to me. So basically, if we talk about that, these are the sources. What exactly is the consequence of wrong guidance?
So, as very logical conclusion would be, students end up losing their valuable time. They end up committing the same mistakes that they keep on doing every year, and it leads to losing of attempts, losing of years, and their valuable age, the most productive age. See, majority of the students, they prepare in the early 20s, and this is the most productive age. So you can be allocate your labor resources in the best way possible. So this is not absolutely in interest of every individual aspirants, neither in the interest of our country as well. And sir, I would like to bring in to the next slide as well. So since we know the harsh consequences of misguidance, what do you know? Like, what do you think that what should be the possible solution towards such kind of wrong guidance which is available in the internet?
So that is how, based on all the wrong guidance that is available, that we have seen, because see, we have guided so many thousands of aspirants. We know that what kind of mistakes they make during their initial early preparation. So all this, the one mistake is that it's not formalized. It's based on bits and pieces. It is mostly based on what we call as group strategy. It believes in the idea of one size fits all approach, right? We, on the other hand, in Step Up, believe in every student is a batch approach, which is that it should be personalized. It should be based on the strength and the weaknesses. And it should be very, very formalized and objective. Because, it should not be like that, कि मैंने बोल दिया, I've said कि भाई, पॉलिटी में ये पढ़ लो, ठीक है. It should be very objectified कि भाई, what are you referring to and how will you assess the performance of your mentee. So it should be very, very formalized. So I believe this is something which we are also providing in Step Up Mentorship. So my question to you is, Hridayan, that why do we need a mentorship? When we already have foundation and everything, why do we actually need mentorship?
Sir, after mentoring a lot of students, I realized that cracking civil services examination is not just about the academics or the academic competency a student possesses. It goes beyond that. To have a success in civil services examination, a student does not only lead academics, but also hard work and in the right direction. So what we can say is that academic competency plus hard work plus direction leads to success in this examination, and that is the agenda of Step Up Mentorship. That we are not only here to augment or enrich your knowledge, but to show you how to do the hard work and in which direction to put the hard work to. And that will be the personal formula for every student who wants to enroll for the Step Up Mentorship program. Sajal sir, before we proceed and discuss the various features of Step Up Mentorship Program, I would like you to briefly elaborate on how come the Step Up Mentorship is different from our 10 to 20 months GS Foundation programs.
So basically, first of all, if we talk about mentorship as a whole, subject, it is actually the application of knowledge. So you are getting your knowledge through various classes, various lectures. Mentorship program, or our mentorship program, is all about the application of that knowledge for you to get marks. Because overall, at the end, you are here to get selected. You are not here to only get knowledge. Knowledge is one very important aspect. Definitely, it makes you a very good citizen. But you are not here to only become good citizen. You are here with an aim and an ambition to become an IAS, IFS, IPS officer. And for that, you need to know the art of application. I have been mentoring a lot of these veteran aspirants for last 5-6 years, and literally these people have given repeated mains, and basically their knowledge base is unlimited. I would say in some cases even more than me. But what they are lacking in the application part. Application part here is that you need to apply that knowledge in writing a good answer in 8 minutes, 150 words. So basically, in this program, we will be actually focusing on application both in prelims, mains, and even interview. Because this program will definitely, for aspirants who have qualified mains, will also give them the interview support. So ultimately, this program, we have 4 layers of mentorship. 4 layers. At the first layer, we have the dedicated mentor of Vajiram, one-to-one mentor. One-to-one, we call it personal mentor, who will be taking your regular one-to-one sessions with respect to various aspects, your source, your timetable, your post-test assessment, and everything. He will try to solve your every hiccup, which is inhibiting your preparation. At the second level, me and Hridayan will be there with group sessions, and these are not just, we call it group sessions, we call it group sessions with a great amount of purpose. The purpose will be that various aspects of your preparation, based on our learnings, our experience, how to write an answer, how to make notes, how to approach a particular subject, how to be consistent, all these very good strategic sessions we will be doing fortnightly. At third level, we have certain faculties from certain faculties of Vajiram who will be assisting you. For example, current affairs, essay, mains. So these faculties will be helping you with giving you this domain knowledge. And at fourth level, we have an IAS, IPS ranker. So one of our super mentor, Pavan Datta, was introduced in the last webinar. And there will be various other rankers, 6-7 other rankers who will be your super mentor. And technically, basically, we have selected these rankers. They are all our mentorship batch students. These people, these rankers are experts in a particular area. One ranker cannot be expert of everything. There could be a person, like for example, if you talk about rank 1 or rank 2, rank 1 has got average marks in GS3. Now she can't be an expert in GS3 because she herself has struggled to get marks in GS3. This is why we have got a bunch of rankers who are all experts. So somebody is an expert in essay, somebody is an expert in GS1, somebody is expert in prelims, somebody is expert in ethics. So that is how these sessions, these rankers will take your strategy sessions in which they will share their strategy, their notes. And also, if you are consistent with your targets for 4, 5, 6 weeks, you can also expect a personal call with the ranker. So this is how we will actually, or this is how the 4 layers of mentorship in this program will work. Now my question to you is, Hridayan, what exactly is the role of mentor? How does a mentor solve the problem of a mentee?
Yeah, exactly. So again, a very good question, because since we are living in the internet age, nowadays the term mentor has been severely abused, and every person who is there on the internet, they are claiming to be a mentor for like hundreds of students. But broadly, we need to understand that we need to recreate the value of a mentor, and for that we need to understand the various important roles which a mentor has to play in the life of a student. Mind it, these are the important roles which have been listed over here, and in Step Up Mentorship there are various activities which we are actually going to deal in the further webinar, where we will be going to elaborate how the mentor is actually going to perform their roles vis-a-vis the mentee. So first of all, to list it, the first role is to handhold, provide right direction and strategy. As in, whenever a student starts or a newcomer comes into Delhi or from anywhere they have started their preparation, they are absolutely in an alien territory. They don't know the right resources. They don't know how much time to give to a particular subject. They don't know how to prioritize the topics. They absolutely have no idea how to convolute current affairs with the static. They are not able to make notes of it. Leave apart the skill of answer writing. So a newbie faces an ecosystem of very vicious problems, and because of that they are not able to create a good foundation for themselves. And the primary role, that is why, is to provide a handhold and to provide a right direction and strategy. Secondly, to augment thinking. These sort of things we are going to discuss in the coming webinar, so like I'll not elaborate on it right away. Thirdly, to help identifying the gaps in the preparation. What happens is that student goes on repeating their mistakes again and again, year after year, attempts after attempts, without realizing what kind of mistakes they are making while they are actually preparing for the examination. And having a mentor alongside with you and having a third person perspective, they will be very objectively able to assess your efforts in various dimensions, whether be it planning, execution, answer writing, current affairs, etc. The fourth is to provide timely and regular feedbacks. See, ultimately the performance that you are going to do in the examination will be the gross aggregate of what you had been doing in the last 1 year. And if there is a mentor who is going to provide you with very valuable and critical feedback every week, imagine the power of those regular and timely feedbacks that can have in your performances. Fifth point, to provide a constant monitoring and accountability. Now, as we know that most of the students, they live in Delhi, or when they start their preparation, so since if they are not working, so they isolate themselves from the society and they keep on working without any sort of external accountability, which leads to substandard performances. And when there is a mentor who is going to hold you accountable for every lapses you do in your execution, it will definitely push your performances multifolds. And lastly, motivation and encouragement. As we know that the entire gestation period of civil services examination is roughly 1.5 years if you are successful, and to keep on doing the hard work or the toil for such a long span of time, it requires an external motivation and few words of encouragement. And if a mentor is there to provide you with that thing, nothing can beat that thing. So sir, like since these are the important roles of a mentor, but to begin with, like what I have experienced in my life is that majority of the students, they are not able to like create a appropriate timetable, not able to prioritize things. I would definitely want you to elaborate on it.
Definitely. So first of all, the biggest problem which aspirants face, I mean, I also faced during my initial preparation, is multiple sources. If you are living in ORN, you know, you go out in the evening, you go out to have a good time, to have a tea. But unfortunately, there are so many tempting sources which you will find in these shops, bookshops, that you will end up buying multiple books for each subject. Now, some of them might be good, some of them might be substandard, but the whole idea is that you don't need multiple sources. I mean, I will tell you this story again when I was probably in college, and I actually, one of my elder sibling, or I would say cousin, was preparing. I went to his room in Mukherjee Nagar. I saw like 50 books of history there. And literally this person has never cleared any prelims of PCS and IAS, but there are 50 books of history there. And I was like, I thought that probably this is what is required to crack the exam. You need probably 50, 100 books. But this is not the right way. I mean, you don't need to read 50 books. You're not here to do PhD. You're here to crack the exam. Minimum sources, maximum revision. That should be the key. Second, poor prioritization of topics. Now, let's say we are seeing this electoral bond kind of a topic. Recently, Supreme Court has called it unconstitutional. There are multiple op-eds on Indian Express, Hindu, Live Mint, everywhere. Now, the whole idea is aspirants make this mistake of devoting a lot of time, I would say 30-40 hours on the same topic. Now, electoral bond is just one issue, and there is a chance that one question can be asked on this topic. And what you need to know is that the facts of the matter, the background, the key features, the advantages, need, challenges, or the issues, way forward. That's all. That's all you need. That's the amount of content you need to write a good answer in this topic. You don't need to write a PhD level thesis, right? So that is there. Similarly, bad time allocation for topics. That is again an important mistake which is committed by various aspirants, that they don't devote enough time to optionals, to current affairs, to answer writing, or perhaps they might be giving, let's say, for example, when I started preparation, even though my background is economics, I had an passion of history during my school days itself. So when I started with history, I became so much involved in history that for French Revolution itself, I actually watched 7 or 8 documentaries because I love that topic so much. Now, this was a wrong approach on my end, because world history, maximum question that can be asked is 1. And within that topic, French Revolution is a very micro topic. Devoting so many hours for that topic is perhaps a wrong strategy, a wrong mistake, and imbalanced study plans. Again, how would you define your week, your day, your months, right? Within a day, how much time will you give to different kind of activities? These are the major mistakes that we actually, we as an aspirant commit. What to read, from where to read, how much to read, right? So how do we solve this problem, Hridayan?
Absolutely, sir. So as you suggested that you read the French Revolution topic from various sources because you were passionate about it. And as a students who have to prepare in a very efficient manner, we need to understand that our goals should not be driven by passion or emotions, but by reason and logic. And that is what we try to achieve over here in Step Up Mentorship. So I'll just show you a sample of a very structured study plan that we give to our students. So what we do is that before we start a week, we tend to give a source list or the topic list in such manner so that there are chapters, topics, focus areas and sources. So sources are defined in a very, very objective manner so that first of all it defeats the malady of reading multiple sources. So if you know that if you are going to read subordinate course, you know which chapter you have to read. For example, but there are certain other things also. For example, the standard textbooks that we refer to, sometimes they are not able to address the very important topics which are very important from the mains point of view. So what we have done is that after doing a thorough research of last 30 years of UPSC, CACs, both prelims and mains examination, we have tried to list out not only the standard textbooks, but also very important reading references as well. So how to use what kind of think tank reports for what subject, it has already been codified. Now coming to the focus areas, so how we have structured it out is that after providing topics, we are not delisting the various kind of subtopics because it is not going to add any value. But here, important point we need to note is that whenever we are trying to read any topic, we should know with what mindset and with what learning outcome perspective we should start and finish that particular topic. And that is why we have enlisted a complete column of focus areas where a student will see what topics to read and ultimately what they should be knowing when they have done reading the resources.
And also the number of hours that a person should take.
Absolutely. But sir, since this is the power of a structured study plan, but these things have to be operationalized on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely.
And one of the major problems which a student faces is to creating a daily plan, because whatever mistakes we are making in designing a daily plan, it will cascade into bad weekly plans and further cascade into bad monthly plans, and ultimately it will lead to bad results.
Yes.
So I would like to please elaborate on the power of good daily plans.
Yes, definitely. So basically, if we talk about the daily timetable, this is one sample timetable. One of our mentee who actually joined the program some 10 months back. So when we asked her that what is her daily plan, so she said that this is her daily timetable, right? And it looks very, very good for an aspirant that, aspirant is devoting 15 hours a day. But is it a right way to go? That's the main question. So, basically, if you see, he has given 3 hours to polity, 2.5 hours to economics, 2.5 hours for history, 1.5 hours for optional, 2.5 hours for newspaper, and almost 3 hours for geography. It looks good on paper, but this plan will not help you crack the exam. Why? One, this is not an exam, not your what we call as your semester exam in college where you do overnight 15 hours or for 2-3 days you study 15 hours and you crack or you score good marks. 1.5 years, 15 hours a day. It will take a toll on your physical health, your mental health, your motivation, everything. Everything. I've seen that personally. Many of my aspirants who have started like this ended up losing all the momentum after 1 month. Right. So first, over ambitious. Second, you can't read multiple subjects in a day. I mean, it's a khichdi bak jayegi puri. Right. And you need to have that frame of mind that okay, you are in the frame. This day you are in a frame of mind of economics. Next day, you need to have that frame of mind. You can't have that multiple. 1 hour you're thinking like an economist. After 3 hours, you're thinking like a geographer. It should not be like that. Right. Third, there is 1.5 hours given to an optional. Now, optional is one of the most important area. I would like to say, definitely in 2017, my GS marks were 11 marks more than rank 1, Anudeep Durashakti. I got 197 in optionals. That sealed my fate. That is the importance of optional in this preparation. You can't really give 1.5 hours to optional. Very, very, I would say, fundamental mistake. No time, no focus, given to answer writing, revision, which is a key. Without answer writing, you can't really think of cracking the exam. Right? 1700 marks. It's based on answer writing. Right? So this is the basic mistakes. Now, what we did was, again, we actually analyzed the daily schedule of toppers, various toppers that we have mentored over the years. And based on what we call as a mean kind of a thing, we actually, came out with this timetable. This is just a sample timetable. Mind you, for every aspirant, the timetable is different. That's why we call it every student is a batch. Because for you are a working professional, you have given mains, you have just started preparation, you have covered all your sources, you have given few attempts. Based on your strength, weakness, your level, this plan is made for you personally. Right, so this is basically a sample plan where we have divided a day into 4 work sessions. Right, just like our economy is divided into 4 quarters, that you have first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. In the same way, we divide a day into 4 quarters. So first quarter is for GS, right? So basically, we also tell that which topics to read that day, or which topics to cover that day, and how much time you have to give. Secondly, second work session is optional. Third is current affairs, where we also, provide the smart current affairs led by Jain sir, who will be, dealing with current affairs. And fourth session is about revision and answer writing. So based on your level of preparation, this also changes with time over the course of year. This is just a sample of 1 day. Right, this changes over the year. This changes over the years, and it is different for every aspirant. Right. So, and also for working professionals, this is very important, because for working professionals, one of my students, Maurya Bharadwaj, rank 28, he cracked the exam, got AIR rank 28 without leaving the job. He was a full-time IT professional. Now, how did he crack? Because he had a very good timetable. Very, very good timetable. Because your timetable should be different from rest of the aspirants. Rest of the aspirants study during the day. But in your case, your main 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 is spent in office. So you have time before that, you have time after that, and you have times on weekends. So based on the working professionals, the different kind of timetable is provided to them. Okay? Moving on to very important next topic, which is learning how to learn. So what is your view on this?
So since we are done with the daily like study plan designing and all, now the final leg comes to the execution or the learning. Ultimately, when we have devised how we are going to utilize our days, ultimately it comes down to what kind of learning we are doing. Sir, I have seen in my experience is that majority of the students, they know what kind of sources they have to study. But why are there differential outcomes? When say rank 1 is also reading from one book and a person who is not able to clear the examination is also reading from the same book. What is that factor which is inhibiting the learning outcomes? And that is what we need to understand, that every subject has to be thought in a different way, has to be learned in a different way, has to be applied in a different way, and to be noted down or memorized in a different way. And that is where the role of a mentor comes in, where the mentor informs the student about what kind of mindset a student needs to study a particular subject. Just to give you an example, for example, let us take a subject of modern history which is extremely factual in nature and is very bulky. However, we will contrast it with a subject which is extremely analytical in nature and very application driven, which is economics. So while a student reads history, they need to keep in mind the various facts, which is extremely elusive in nature and extremely perishable. So we have to keep in mind that we need to mentor the student in such a manner that they keep on revisiting such historical facts, the historical timeline, and what kind of perspectives they have to keep in mind while reading the history.
I would like to add on here. For example, UPSC has asked this question on age of consent. I think 2 years back they asked this question in prelims. Now, there were hard facts there, and it's not very, it's not possible for an aspirant to remember that. But, when you're reading, as you have said, Ridan, very good, that you need to have that analytical bent while studying. For example, when you see the options, you have to see what exactly were the issues that were already resolved by the time, that age of consent wala issue was raised. For example, women education was already a solved matter. 1850s tak wo solve ho gaya tha. So through that analytical thinking, you actually solve that question.
Right.
Yes. Continue.
So like similarly, so as I was telling, that every subject needs different approach, mindset and perspective to deal with it in the most efficient way possible, so that we end up making beautiful notes in a very crisp manner, and which will ultimately lead to beautiful answer writing. Coming to the second point of identifying gaps in preparation, I will like to use a very important saying from Albert Einstein. So he used to say that insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Same thing happens in UPSC preparation, where year after year and attempts after attempts, aspirants tend to repeat the same mistakes in their preparation, and they are very expectant in that in this year I am going to crack this examination. But unfortunately that does not happen. Why? Because they are not in a position to identify the gaps which they are actually doing in their preparation, whether be it in arena of strategy or disciplined execution or note making or answer writing, etc. So by having a mentor alongside you, the biggest benefit you can get is to have a very third person objective perspective, which they will tell you that okay, you are not doing the answer writing in a best way possible, or you are not making the notes in a good way, you are not prioritizing the topics which will give better ROI. And lastly, thinking augmentation, as in the majority of the difference between an average candidate and a aspirant who actually clears the examination is how analytically they and in a structured manner they can think. And by having one-to-one sessions and group sessions, a mentor, by using various tools and techniques, they try to broaden the horizon of an aspirant's thinking. Just to help you understand this with an example, for example, nowadays this Israel-Palestine, again it has been in news. So what happens is that since every day there will be some article on either on the Hindu or Indian Express or whatever dailies you are following. So what happens is that people end up reading each and every article every day without realizing the end use of it. So if we don't know the end use of that particular issue, we will never be able to fathom this examination. What do I mean by end use? Is that how Israel and Palestine issue is going to be asked in the prelim examination and how is it going to be asked in the mains examination. For prelim examination, we need to understand if there is any certain historical fact associated with it, what kind of communities are there, maps, important places in news. Okay, for example, Golan Heights, Gaza Strip, West Bank, okay, which river flows through it. But when it comes to the mains part, we need to understand the major issue or the seed of or the genesis of this issue, India's interest and other global players' interest in that arena. Okay.
And suggestions.
Yeah, and suggestions and way forwards, and it can be topped up with certain Indian bureaucrats' opinions as well, so as to provide a very balanced approach to your answer. And these are the major roles which are played by the mentor, so as to enrich your knowledge and help you apply it better.
I would also like to add on here that, there's a process called unlearning before learning. So in this program, we also follow that everybody, a mentee comes to us and they actually tell us that this is how they have prepared. So there are a lot of aspirants who join this program who, after let's say 1 or 2 unsuccessful attempts, and then they, tell us their plan that this is how they have been preparing, this is the kind of note making they are doing, this is how they are doing, writing the answers. So we start with unlearning, which is that we first tell them to unlearn that this is not the way to crack that is the reason why you are feeling you are not, able to successfully crack the exam. And then we start the process of learning. So now that you have unlearned this thing, this is how a road to success will be like.
Sir, I would like to add one more thing, is that now since the learning and the efficiency of learning process has been done, and the next logical cue or the next logical step would be to condense that whatever that we have learned in notes making. And nobody can better elaborate on this topic of note making. So I would like to kindly brief on it. Yeah.
So note making, again, a very, very important topic. I mean, I would tell you with a lot of confidence that I have not seen none of my students who have cracked the exam without good notes. This is, I would say, a lot of confidence and a lot of experience. Note making is half your job done. Because if you have good notes, then you will be able to replicate those notes in your answers. If you have good notes, you will be able to revise the facts needed for prelims. Right? Because ultimately, you need notes for 3-4 main things. One, you have to condense that vast information that is available that you are reading every day into what is most important for this exam. Second, and very important, is it ensures personalized learning. Because every person, has their own way. Some people, understand a concept through flowchart. Somebody understands through a diagram, through tables. So it ensures personalized learning. Third, and very important, is it helps you with revision. Now, before the exam, you will not go and read 1100 pages, kind of Lakshmikant. You will not end up reading your class notes, which again is very bulky. You need very crisp personal notes, which will help you revise a topic just before the exam. And fourth and very important, answer writing. To actually write answers, you need to have a repository. Right? Answer writing is a outcome, but the input is the notes. Without good notes, you can never write a good answer. Right? And basically, if we talk about notes, these are the examples of, I would say, a bad note. Why? Because of various reasons. First, it is very bulky, verbose, big paragraphs, no structure, not linked to PYQ, just dumping of information there. That's all it is. These kind of notes are not helpful. And we actually again say that 95% aspirants are unable to make good notes. That's a fact. Now this is a note by a topper. This year's topper, one of my students, ranked 48. This is how he has actually make the notes of PDS, historical development, ultimately the background, the significance, the process, ultimately debatable issues, and see his notes on children. If you see, challenges are there, proven by data. Then you have government measures. See this, government measures by pestle way, constitutional provision, legal measure, institutional measures. And then if you see this child labor, see this, there are reasons, then there is data, there is an impact. Impact is based on stakeholder approach. I always tell in my lectures that in answer writing, you can go for stakeholder approach in social problem. And see India's efforts, constitutional, legislature, schemes, and international, right? So this is how crisp the note should be. right? So the philosophy of these notes, the philosophy of notes of hundreds of aspirants who were our students, उनकी philosophy को लेकर हमने इस प्रोग्राम में notes बनाए हैं, and we call them as prelims workbook and mains workbook. So Ridayan, I would like you to emphasize on the philosophy of prelims workbook.
So, sir, as we discussed that one of the most important characteristics of good notes are it should be crisp and succinct. Secondly, it should be linked with PYQs. So, whatever UPSC is asking, we should try to incorporate such elements in our notes. And what we have done at Step Up Mentorship is that after analyzing like 30 years of questions from the UPSC CSE, Civil Services Examination, we have identified the various important topics which students find it really difficult to make notes on, and we have provided a very structured template for the students to work on. So we have such kind of templates for almost all the subjects for the prelims. So everything, every information which is very relevant from the UPSC's point of view has been incorporated over here.
These are the dimensions on which UPSC has asked the question on crops.
And every crop which has been listed over here has been there in the UPSC examination, either in the question or in the options. So we are not leaving any stone unturned. So just to give you one more example, will be of parliament. So imagine after having read the Lakshmi Kant, now you will be sitting with this thing and incorporating or annotating over such things, so that this will be a proper ideal template for your notes, and whatever extra information you can add, you want to add on this thing, you can do that. So it will lead to a lot of time saving and energy saving at your end, so that you can proceed with the entire completion of the syllabus and consolidation of the syllabus in a very efficient way, very efficient way. And so similarly, we have created similar notes for the mains as well, but it requires a different analytical mindset.
Yes.
Kindly elaborate on it.
So before we move here, we also, if I do at micro level, it also talks about that whether it is mentioned in the constitution or not. Whatever UPSC can ask in prelims, we have actually mentioned it there. Now, technically, these are the base notes that you will get. So one basic problem of you, which is note making unscientific note, is solved. We will provide you with best quality notes, which is actually based on the philosophy of rankers. You need to just update these notes with current information. Similarly for mains, again, this is the most tricky part, because ultimately for mains, many people or many aspirants make this mistake of making notes more in the prelim style. They actually don't include those information which can be asked in the exam. So basically for mains, or under the mains workbook in this program, we actually have divided the syllabus wise, and what we have done is that let's take a topic of, let's say, Panchayati Raj. So basically what we have done, we have analyzed the PYQ and we have analyzed the macro areas on panchayats where a question can be asked, and based on that the material has been made. For example, for Panchayati Raj, introduction, there could be various 3-4 templates of introduction that can be used there. Now we will teach you the philosophy that how these introduction can be used here, so that for other similar topics, let's say like urban local governments, you actually come out with your own idea. Right, that okay, now that Panchayati Raj, this is the philosophy that was taught, this is I will use for making notes for the urban local government. Similarly, some main provisions, so facts of the case, that will be there in your notes. Then you have significance of Panchayati Raj. Now significance is not like basic advantages, ye hai, wo hai. The significance also, we have identified the micro areas that they can ask you question in the context of good governance, that how does Panchayati Raj help you in good governance, how does it help you in in promoting or enriching democracy, how it will help you in empowering women, how it will help you in inclusive growth, how it will help in the marginalized section. These are the broader themes on which UPSC can ask questions or has asked questions in previous years. Similarly, for challenges, these are the basic challenges on which UPSC can ask a question. Funds, functions, functionaries, functionality, planning and coordination, and infrastructure. Right? Then steps taken by the government, way forward may, we give this template that you have to mention the commissions, for example, Finance Commission, Sumit Bose, Iyer Commission, and also the best practices, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, right? And finally, you have 2-3 different types of conclusion. You can conclude it with, let's say, the hope of Viksit Bharat. You can conclude it with the DPSP Article 40, that these steps will help us in achieving the vision of Gandhiji as enshrined in Article 40. So basically, for each topic mentioned in your syllabus, we'll provide you this kind of structured, kind of material in our mains workbook. That will ensure that by reading this, you will be able to solve every question that can be asked in mains. These kind of notes will help you in replicating the same way in your answers to get a very good score in marks, in mains. So your 80% tension of note making for prelims and mains, as I have said, will be solved in this step up program.
Right. And sir, once the note making is also dealt with, now again the logical next cue or next step would be, how do we assess ourselves? And that is the dilemma with the students, that they want to quantify. Most of the students think that giving 100 marks will help them clear the pre-examination. However, what we have experienced is that it is not about the quantity of the marks that you are giving, but about the quality of the reviews, how you are assessing your reviews. And that is what I would like to elaborate over here, is that is that how actually in step up mentorship we are going to not only provide you with the quantity of the assessments that you are going to get, but also what roles does a mentor play to help you assess your performance better. So in the prelims part, what we have done is that as soon as a student is done with some mock, so a student is required to come to a mentor with these parameters at their disposal, so that the mentor will sit with their attempted paper and will try to identify the various kind of gaps which exist in their performance, whether be it awareness gap or knowledge gap, or whether they are able to apply that knowledge or not. So application gap, whether they knew that concept but they were not able to recall it, so that is why the revision gap. And finally the critical thinking gap, whether they are able to create correlation among the various subjects that they have studied and are able to try to apply it to solve the questions or not.
I think Ridan, Orangutan question will be a very good example to display.
Just to help you understand it better with the help of a question. So there was one question in UPSC CSE 2023, which was, which animal uses stool to eat ants? So its answer was orangutan. So it was not that orangutan had not been asked earlier in the options. Orangutan had appeared in one of the options, and that is why this time they made a question specifically on it. But a student should be able to dissect every aspect of that thing in a very clear-cut manner. For example, whether orangutan is naturally found in India or not. So naturally orangutans are not found in India. So where they are naturally found, what kind of habitats they do live in, what kind of other tools they can use. Is orangutan the only animal to use tools to eat ants? So these kind of questions can actually come up in the coming examination. And these things nobody can teach you such things if there is no mentor alongside with you. So having a mentor alongside with you nudge you to think better across the dimensions, across the breadth of the dimensions. And similar things has to be done when we are giving assessment for the mains. So Sajal sir, please kindly elaborate on it.
So basically, if we talk about mains, bad assessment is a major problem here. As I have been running this program for veterans, the biggest problem that many of these people, because they have been writing mains, they show me the previous written papers and they said, see, we have got 130 marks in the mock test, but we are getting 70 marks in the actual UPSC exam. I think UPSC is doing unfair to us and everything. Then I see the papers, I see that you actually deserve 70 marks. Who is giving you 130 marks? Some local kind of XYZ kind of institutes, or some local teacher, or some kind of a YouTube guru and all. So ultimately then because of wrong advice, a person who could have cracked the exam in the last attempt or in the earlier attempt, he has missed it. Right. So basically for mains also, it's very, very important to give objective assessment. And for that, we have various parameters. Once a copy is checked, you go to a mentor, your copy tells your performance based on these 6 main aspects, which is competency, conceptual, contextual, structural, linguistic, presentation. Right, and we have defined objective parameters for this also, that what do we mean by conceptual, what do we mean by, what are the elements of good structure, what are the elements of good presentation, what are the elements of good contextual thing. So we have actually defined that, and that has been provided. We as a team have kind of defined that, and the mentors were also very much part of it. So all of them are on the same page. So we actually try to solve this problem of subjectivity, because problem क्या होती है, ठीक है आप बोल रहे हो presentation खराब है, but what is good presentation, right? So that parameter needs to be defined. Similarly, I have prepared this 20-point document or best practices document based on the inputs of thousands, or I would say hundreds of rankers, how they are using it. We also use that document, if you, let's say, implement 80% suggestions from your that document, it means that you're writing good tests. So based on these objective criteria, we actually assess the performance of a person in mains.
And
also we have, I think, skipped current affairs. Huh?
Yeah. So answer writing is one more thing, and one of the biggest problems a student faces is how to tackle or convolute the current affairs with static, and how to tackle the current affairs, and that is what I would like you to elaborate on it.
So I would say that current affairs again is a very, very big panacea which many aspirants face. It's a very big pain which a lot of aspirants are making, because again, it's endless. So many things are happening in the world. So many things are happening in India that you don't know which topic to read. So we have a source gap, first of all, because the current affairs is provided by so many newspapers, online websites, monthly magazines, weekly magazines. Then the second very important is, I would say, awareness gap. What to study? Now you have so many things going on. There will be election season, and the newspaper will be filled with a lot of news of, let's say, coalition and everything, and with this government falling. Now this government falling, let's say if any government falls, the basic idea is that you need to know what aspects you need to actually read in that, or which aspects are important for your UPSC exam. Third is like smart work gap, which is that interlinking current affairs with your static topic, how to make notes out of current affairs. So this is a very, very important problem which many are facing, because see, again, as I've said, current affairs is endless. So to solve this problem, what are we doing, Ritai?
So in Step Up Mentorship, we are providing a complete aggregation of various tools and techniques which will help the students to tackle current affairs in a most efficient manner. So we will begin with the smart current affairs program, where the students will not only be provided the current affairs in a prelims way, but also integrated. Both prelims and mains pedagogy will be covered. So this will be taken care by Jayant Parikshit sir, who will be leading this smart current affairs program of Vajiram and Ravi, in which the classes will be held roughly 2 to 3 times per week, so that students are absolutely abreast with whatever happening in the current affairs domain. However, we need to understand that what value or the role which the mentor is going to do in the current affairs arena. So first of all, me and Sajal sir are going to take special applicational sessions for the current affairs, as in, first of all, as we had discussed in the earlier portion also, that Step Up Mentorship is all about application. So whatever the knowledge about current affairs you will be deriving from the smart classes, we will help you analyze it and apply it for the best of your results. So that one thing is that is the group sessions that we are going to take. Secondly, there will be certain quizzing sessions as well with respect to your mentors, who will be taking group sessions to have such sort of quizzing sessions in a timely, regular manner, so that you will also be pushed to revise and analyze the current affairs in a best way possible.
And we'll also be giving some, contemporary lectures, on 100 topics.
Right.
They are a mix of static and current affairs.
Right.
So current affairs will be definitely a focus area in this program. What about answer writing and essay? I mean, what are we doing for that?
So we have, apart from this current affairs program, we have absolute access to essay module course as well, which will again be dealt by Brijender sir, a very important faculty of Vajiram and Ravi, where there will be 12 classes followed with essay test series as well. So as we know that essay has been a very primary marker for a student's success. So even if you can make it to the list, whether you are IAS, IPS or FS, it determines whether you have what kind of performance you have done in the essay program. And this essay module course will be a very like pushing or a plank for your success.
I mean, essay decides whether you will be in the list or which service you will get or which
Yeah.
cadre will you get.
Absolutely.
Because it's very difficult to get 140 marks in GS papers, but you can get 140 marks in essay paper if you follow a right strategy. So as Ridayan has also said that Vijendra sir will be there and Jayan sir will be there for current affairs. So all these towering pillars of Vajiram will also be assisting you in your preparation.
And so lastly, when current affairs is done, note making is done, essays are also done, ultimately it comes down to the day-to-day toil.
Yes.
The day-to-day labor which a student has to put in, and it is extremely probable that student might lose their motivation. So we need to understand what kind of value can a mentor add in the life of the students to help them going with a very temperate tempo.
Yes, definitely. Maintaining consistency is something which is very, very difficult in the exam. As Ridayan has also said at the beginning, that it is a very long gestation period, 1.5 years. So you came out, many of your aspirants just came out of colleges, where they are used to just study like 15 days or let's say 1 month before the exam. Here you have to study 1.5 years. Plus, there are certain distractions. You have social media, you have other distractions, your personal issues, your professional issues. If you're working professional, there could be some areas or some kind of moments where probably work is taking a toll on your preparation. And also motivation, because the success rate is so low. Sometimes you feel bad about it. You see your, other batchmates, who are doing really well. Somebody is in US, somebody is in France, and you are, sitting in the small room in OR and preparing for this exam. So ultimately, this is something which is very, very important. And I would say that, without a good, I would say a mood, or without addressing the behavioral aspects, I would say it's very difficult for you to crack the exam, because ultimately that will have a direct effect on your productivity and your whole preparation plan. So for that, I would say mentor is there, because mentor himself has faced that situation during his preparation. So he is well apt to actually tell you the problems, the solutions, motivate you, give you the examples, give you the suggestions how to keep consistent. And our mentors have been doing that, and these testimonials are a testimony to that how our mentors have been providing the mentees with this kind of support and other things.
Yeah. So as we discussed that the journey towards ultimate success starts with the motivation or the behavioral habit systems that we need to install, and mentor plays a very important role in keeping the students' timetable in check and holding them accountable, which in turn leads to creating a long-term motivation for the students also, that they need to be answerable in front of their mentors. And lastly, we need to understand that how your week will look like if you are a student who is enrolled in the step up mentorship program. So how does your week looks like? So it starts with the point one, that is, firstly, when you will have a session with your mentor, so you will be given a weekly plan. It is just for the sake of reference, we are providing here a weekly plan. It can be a 5 days goals as well. Now, when you have been provided with the goal or the tasks, you will start studying for that particular weekly plan. As soon as there is certain doubts, you can approach your mentor to ask the doubts. Then at the end of the week, there will be an absolute assessment of whatever the topics or the modules you were assigned to. And as soon as you will be done with that assessment, you will be required to sit with the mentor, which will be the most critical leg of this cycle. So as soon as you will sit with your mentor, mentors will try to assess your performance based on the metrics that we have already discussed. So they would be wanting to identifying the various kind of gaps which you have shown in your performance of that particular test. And lastly, the same loop will continue for the coming weeks as well. So such kind of circular and a virtuous cycle will develop and result into a sort of a motivated performance by the students as well. Sorry, would you like to add something?
Yes, so I think well explained, and this is how it will work. And basically, as I've said, the program is starting from 13th March, but as I've said that, we will be giving an early bird discount to first 200 kind of students, and also to ex Vajiram students. And the more early you join the program, we'll be giving you with the mentorship support as early as possible. So you don't have to wait for 13 March. You can join as early as possible, and we'll start with your process. So I think now we'll try to address the questions. So can I ask the team to show us the questions? Okay, so fees, Khan Sir Patna, the fees, good name, very good name. The fees is 85,000 including GST, but there is a early bird discount and there is a 15% discount available for ex-Vajiram students. And ultimately everything is sorted. Whatever will aid you in or whatever are your inhibitors, we'll be trying to solve all that inhibitors in this program. How to improve accuracy in prelims test series questions. So basically, see, ultimately, San Yog, as we say, that to increase accuracy, first of all, post-test assessment is very important. Without post-test assessment, there's absolutely no way you can improve your scores. So you have to actually see that what are the mistakes you are committing, what kind of gaps you are committing, and then you have to work on the gap. What kind of style is working for you? Because they could be aspirants who can actually solve 95 questions and they can still get marks. There are kind of aspirants like me who used to only solve 75, 74 questions and still we used to get the marks in prelims. So depending on your kind of approach, your level, you have to analyze the post test, and based on that you can improve the score. So then there is this, it's free for a fledgling. No, it is not free, Abu Sufyan. You have to pay. There is definitely a discount for the Vajiram students. And Gitanjali, yes, there will be a 15% discount for ex-Vajiram students. Bhuvan, definitely, if you are enrolled in this 10-month program, as I've said, as Hridayan has also said, that the application part, the focus area of this program will be application part. So application part will be there in this part or in this program.
Unique Sajad. Hello sir, I can't focus on study consistently. What can I do? I can give next prelims or not? Please help me to get from this problem. See, Sajad, you need to understand that you need to assess yourself in a very objective manner. And be very self-aware that whether your syllabus are completed or not, whether you have solved the PYQs or not and analyze them or not, and then take a judicious decision whether you want to appear for this year or you want to go for the next year.
So Annapurna, you were saying different. See, fledgling is developing your base. It will be developing your base. It is giving you that knowledge. Again, without knowledge you can't crack this exam, right? This program is technically focusing on application of that knowledge for you to get more marks in prelims and mains. So I would say a combination of that is definitely, which is required to crack the exam. And Maruti saying non-Vajiram student, they will be, for right now, we are providing the early bird discount of 10%. So definitely you can avail that. And how to make notes from newspaper. So this is what we will actually teach you in this program, and that's a sample that we have provided to you.
And I would like to add on that Annapurna's comment is that, see Annapurna, we need to understand that fledgling program is a GS program. So there you will be under the guidance of great teachers of Vajiram and Ravi, where you will be covering every topic from point to point. However, a mentor's role is not to teach you. A mentor's role is to take whatever the knowledge body you are having and how to apply it to create a rank in this examination. So these are the basic differences between the foundation and the mentorship program.
Okay. Okay, answer writing is online mode. No, answer writing will be online and offline. There is absolutely, you can write the test here also. So it will be like that. But you can decide this rocket direction. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Very good question Gitanjali has asked.
So please also bring some mental awareness or such sessions, because it is very challenging exam and needs a lot of consistency, which sometimes we lack. Absolutely correct, Gitanjali. We need to understand that it takes a toil on our mental health as well, because we are socially isolated and we are under constant social supervision that we need to perform. Even our relatives will be asking us after a month or so that what happened, whether you cleared it or not. So definitely there is a need for greater awareness about such issues.
So I think that's all for the day, and do enroll and let's try to crack 2025 in the very first attempt. And thank you for joining. How can we write? We will tell you all these things in a separate session.
Yeah.
This was mostly about this program. So ultimately, see you guys. The program is starting from 13th, and
Admissions are already open.
yeah, admissions are already open. Thank you.
Thank you.